saying in this time and age, the most simplest process is Hare Nam, Hare Nam, Hare Nam Eva Kevalam. Hello, Nasti Eva Nasti Gatir Anyatha. So in this age of Kali Yuga, the only topmost method of attaining God or experiencing God realization is through chanting of the holy name. And in Shikshashtakam prayers, which is, as we just discussed, composed by Krishna himself, he is emphasizing what is the second verse of Shikshashtakam prayers. Those who know, Nam Nam Akari Bahuda Nija Sharva Shaktis. We'll stop at that. Nam Nam Akari Bahuda Nija Sharva Shaktis means Krishna is saying, I have invested all my potencies in my holy name. All my potencies are present in the holy name. If you simply chant my name, you will get my mercy. You will get my shelter. You will get my benediction for the time and age you live in. And then the next line is Tatra Pita Niyame Nakar. What is it? Tatra Pita Niyamata Smarane Nakalaha, which means there is no restriction of time, place, or circumstance. Wherever you are, you can chant. Whatever your condition is, you can chant. You may be doing any odd job, you can chant. The general method of attaining God or engaging in a spiritual process is you have to, number one, be clean, shuchi. You have to have a certain paraphernalia, an altar, deity, scriptures, access to some saint. You have to have all this set up. But to simply chant, there is no requirement. You could be chanting when you're cooking, you could be chanting when you're driving, you could be chanting when you're doing odd jobs in the house. So it's so simple. Nam Nam Akari Bahuda Nija Sharva Shaktis. Krishna himself is saying, I have invested all my potencies in my holy name. Simply chant. Tatra Pita Niyame Smarana Nakalaha. There is no restriction of time, place, or circumstance. There is a wonderful pastime of how people with, or shall we say, living beings with different abilities can also chant the holy name and get relieved. So our Srila Prabhupada, for those of you who know, he was a businessman by profession. And what was he do? What was he doing? What was his business? Pharmacy, medicines. He used to sell medicines. Prayag medicine or something his business was called. He was a wholesaler for pharmacy medicines on behalf of manufacturers. So he wanted to expand his business, so he once went to live in Prayag. And there the first accommodation that he got was a haunted house. Have you heard this story? Okay, so he got, because it was cheap, Prabhupada said, I want to have minimum expenses. I don't mind whether ghosts and spirits live in there. I'm going to go. And then against everybody's instruction, Prabhupada went and started to live in there. So he set up his place and started writing, and he used to regularly write for magazine. What was the magazine called that Prabhupada set up? Back to God magazine. That was the first magazine Prabhupada set up in 1944. He used to write the article himself and then typeset on a big machine, then print it out himself and then go out distributing himself as well. So much hardships Prabhupada took. This was in 1944 that he set up the magazine. It's still going on till today. I think give or take 100,000 copies are distributed of the Back to God magazine. We have some free ones if you want. So Prabhupada started living in the house. And then what happened? In the night, the spirits will come and try and trouble him. And what will Prabhupada do? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So for those of you who will get access to read Prabhupada's Lilamrita and other pastimes written by devotees, he would have a conversation with these spirits. The spirits will try and come and haunt him and trouble him, but he will say, hey, what are you doing? You're so unfortunate. You were given a human's body. You mistreated that body. And that's why you've come into this condition. Please chant Hare Krishna. He would urge the spirits. But the spirits would say, no body. They don't have the facility of the physical body, no senses, can't make sound, can't do anything, can't hold any object. So then Prabhupada, being so kind, he said, okay, don't worry, I will chant on your behalf, simply listen. And then Prabhupada, by regular chanting, it's written in the memoirs of Prabhupada, and you can see in the videos also, Abhacharan video is available. Over a period of time, those spirits got liberated. Each one of the spirits took a divine form simply by chanting the holy name, and then left for different places. And then that place become not haunted. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So such is the power of holy name. Imagine when you become a spirit, unfortunately, can you engage in deity worship? Can you read scriptures? Can you take prasadam? Can you hold musical instruments? You can't do any of these. So even for those with minimum or next to nothing resources, the holy name is still capable of liberating, still capable of relieving you. So such is the glory of the holy name. From Ramayana, we take a couple of examples. There is an example of Shurpanakha Devi. You've heard of Shurpanakha Devi? Why do we call her a Devi? Shurpanakha was a demon, a demoness. But we call her Devi because she must have done some good deeds, some good bank balance she must have had, that she had the opportunity to have darshan of Lord Ram. She had the ability. It's not easy, it's not cheap. And then she could have a conversation with Lord Ram also. So just by the virtue of being able to have the Lord's presence, she becomes a punyatma for us, Shurpanakha Devi. But what did she do? She had that desire that I want Lord for myself. She got enamored by the physical form of the Lord. For those of you who don't know, the Ramayana pastime is Lord Ram goes to forest with his wife and his brother, and then a demoness gets attracted to the Lord's physical form. She wants him for herself, and therefore makes all sorts of decent and indecent proposals. And then what happens? She didn't have, what was she missing? She had a desire to get Lord, but what was she missing? She didn't have appreciation for the Lord's holy name. She didn't have understanding of how powerful the Lord's name alone is. So she had that desire, a selfish desire to get the physical form of Lord Ram. And then what happened? Lakshman was engaged, and then she gets her nose and ears chopped off as punishment because she was being quite persistent. She wouldn't let go. And the Lord, obviously for his good reasons, said that I've already taken up a wife, I can't take another. So we all know the story. So this is an example of what happens when you don't have appreciation for the holy name, but you still mindlessly, without reason, without logic, approach an XYZ process of trying to get to the Lord. And then in the same way, there is another example from Ramayana also of Shabari. Shabari was also a saint. For those of you who don't know, Shabari was actually a princess of a tribal king. At a very early age, she rejected eating meat, so she gave up the father's place. And then she started living in a hermitage of a saint called Matanga Muni. And then, what did she do there? She served the Guru. She served Matanga Muni throughout her life. She didn't immediately go and demand, I have given up, now give me XYZ. That wasn't the approach she took. She said, I understand, I've just given up meat eating and other sorts of unfavorable activities. Now, after stopping the contamination, the purification has to start. Okay? And the purification throughout her life. So this is an example of how we should be a little bit, what is the right term to use? Patient, and try and have faith in the instruction of the spiritual master. And at the end when his guru was about to give up his life, she got a blessing. And what was the blessing Shabri got? Because you have served me, because you have followed the process, because you have kept up with your decontamination, the blessing is you will get darshan of Lord Ram. Lord will come, and because of her commitment, because of her persistence with the process that the Guru was instructing, one fine day, the Lord came looking for the devotee. Okay, so we want to follow Shabri's example. And what did Shabri do when the Lord came? Did she offer deity worship? Elaborate. Did she offer Pancha Mahabhut Bhoga and all that? What did she do? Did she offer nice forest flowers? Nothing. She had simple berries, and those berries also were not full berries. She tasted the berries first and then offered. We all know that. But the heart had become totally pure. She was totally decontaminated. She had totally spiritualized herself by simply following the process that the Guru had given, and thereby qualify herself to have darshan of the Lord, not by following Shurpanakha's example. Is that okay? Does that make sense? So we take a few takeaways. Follow the instructions of the spiritual master, have faith, and chanting of the holy name is more powerful than trying to get the Lord without appreciating the importance of holy name. Okay, so we'll take another example from Ramayana. This is, for those of you who are not familiar, what happens later on in Ramayana? Ravana is a demon king. He, by force, by deceiving, he takes away Mother Sita. And then, when Mother Sita is being taken away, there is an encounter that happens with whom? Jatayu, yeah, for those of you who know. Jatayu is a vulture king, a big bird. And what does Jatayu do, that bird? He was also a Nam Sevak. He was also chanting constantly Krishna's name or Ram's name. So what did Jatayu do when he saw Ravan's taking away Sita? He fought. Why? Even though he knew that he didn't have any chance of winning against Ravan. Jatayu at that time was 60,000 years old already. He was a very old bird. Didn't have as much power, and Ravana was in his prime. And he only had 2 hands, 2 wings, and a beak. Where Ravana had 10 hands and heads. He killed one, another one comes. But Jatayu still applied himself with full force, as much as he could do, to stop Mother Sita from being taken away. His options were, he could have become a messenger and went to Lord Ram, this is happening, come on. But he applied himself with whatever his ability was. Simply by chanting the holy name, he got the opportunity to serve like that. And when the opportunity came, he threw himself fully with his full ability. And we know that it wasn't going to be win for him. He lost eventually, we know that. And then what happened after that? Absolutely, yes. Because of the service that he did to the Lord came looking for him. And what did the Lord do? Lord performed Jatayu's final rites. And that was a good fortune that even the Lord's father, Dasharath, didn't get. So can you see for yourself the power of simply submitting and doing some basic service and appreciating the strength of the holy name. So what we'll do is, we're listening in about this importance of holy name. Let's do a little bit of chanting together and then come back and listen to a few more inspiring references from the scriptures. Okay? Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Please, Boli. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nam Sankirtan ki jai. This is a spiritual sound vibration we just discussed. There is another example given, that of a kite. You see, a kite is moving from one cloud space to the other. Has anybody not seen a kite in the sky? Raise your hand. Anybody who's not seen a kite? Huh? Everybody's seen a kite. So you know how it moves from one cloud space to the other? Huh? So for someone who's at a distance, he doesn't know how the kite's moving because he can only see the kite and the thread is not visible. Huh? So for people who are bystanding, they can see the devotees are, in a different headspace, but they don't understand, they don't know what process they are following. So they come closer and then they will observe that what's happening to the kite is being held by a person with a rope or a string or whatever you want to call it. So Krishna is like this. He says in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Aham bhaktya paradhina. Paradhina is a very, very strong word. Adhin means to be subservient. Paradhina means even more subservient. Aham bhaktya paradhina. And what's the next line? It says, Hari avaswatantra ija dvija. Hari avaswatantra iva dvija means I am, Krishna saying himself in the 9th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, I am not independent. Krishna himself is saying, can you imagine? And who am I dependent on? My devotee. My devotee. Aham bhaktya paradhina. Sadhu bhir grahastha hridaya. I am living in the hearts of my devotees. Bhakter bhakte jana priya. Bhakter bhakte jana priya. I'll give you the reference. I think it's SB 9 chapter 4, 9 canto 4 chapter 63 verse. That's right, yes. Well done, Prabhu. Good Google job. Okay. So Krishna is saying, I am in the hands of my devotee. Sometimes we wonder, why this process is so difficult? Why do I not get the taste to the holy name? Why am I not able to take up this process of devotional service? It's Damodar pastime is coming up. There's a very auspicious month coming in a few weeks, where we understand that whenever the devotee or an aspiring devotee is trying to bind the Lord, we fall 2 fingers short. And what are those 2 fingers representing? The first is the effort, definitely, yes. The devotees or the individual's effort, that's the first missing finger. And the second is the Lord's mercy, yes. His sanction, His approval. So unless you have both of these things together, it wouldn't happen fully for you. So Krishna is saying, Aham Bhaktya Paradhina. And he doesn't easily give his devotional service or the status of his devotee to anybody. Because when he does, then he does anything that the devotee wants for him to do. And then the third line was Sadhur Bhir Grahastha Hridayo. I'm living in the hearts of my devotees. So, and then the fourth line, Bhaktar Bhakta Jana Priya. People who become devotees are dear to me, but those who respect my devotees are even more dear. There is where we make a reference to the Guru Parampara system. So for any process to be successful, you have to follow the recommended steps. Okay, you have to take shelter of the Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. Sripad Ramanujacharya, who's a very respected saint, he talks about 2 different processes of attaining God, and he gives an analogy. The first is the first kind of devotee is a Markat Jnani. Jnani means someone who's either got some knowledge or is trying to achieve some knowledge. And Markat in Sanskrit means a monkey. So a Markat Jnani, the analogy is that if you visualize a monkey's baby, very, very small newborn, is held on very strongly to the mother's body, isn't it? You've seen that? Monkey moving around with a little infant. So the child has to make all the effort to stick on to the mother. And mother's not really caring as she's moving from one tree to the other, jumping around. It's the child's effort to make sure that my devotion is good, my sadhana is good, my bhakti is good, my deity worship is good, my daily practices are good, and then maybe I'll get the Lord's mercy. So that's one way. And those kind of people, they look for Hatha Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Sankhya Yoga, all sorts of paths they will take up to try and latch on to God. That's the Markat Jnani way. And then there is a Merger Jnani. What's a Merger Jnani? Merger is cat. Okay. So what happens to a cat's kitten? The kitten saying, meow, I'm here. And simply by that sound, the cat goes, grabs the kitten in the mouth and puts the kitten in a safe place. Simply by chanting the holy names. So you would rather be a Merger Jnani or a Markat Jnani? Merger. Take the ways of the cat or the kitten. And then, we've discussed this in our morning session, the kitten is held on to the cat's jaws, and the same kitten is also handling the rat. But because the rat is not taking shelter, what does a rat feel in the mouth of a cat? Death personified. But the same jaws, same teeth are holding the kitten also. But the kitten is surrendered. She knows, kitten knows, she's my mother. She's going to look after me. I'm fully surrendered. No fear at all. So the kitten gets full protection. and simply by the utterance of the names, ma, meow, whatever name the kitten does, the cat comes and puts the kitten into a safe place. But this takes time. For us to have this amount of faith can take some time. And the recommendation is you follow the process. No? In the Bhagavad Gita it says, Bahunam janmanam ante jnanavan mam prapadyante vasudevaya sarvamiti sa mahatma sadurlabha. Means it takes many lifetimes, not just a few years of this lifetime, but many lifetimes to come to the stage where you start to appreciate the Lord and His holy names. No? And then Bahunam Janmanamante Jnanavan Ma Prapadyante Vasudevaya Sarvamati Sa Mahatma Sudurlabha. Such a human being, such a living being is very rare. But when you get to that stage, don't think that you came to the temple today and you didn't really get a lot. Simply the fact that you've managed to take time out, come to the temple, have darshan of the deities, sat in a kirtan, you will have prasad also, is also by a lot of good fortune that you've accumulated over a period of time. So all of you are definitely, for sure, on your journeys. And what happens to someone who takes up to the process? Niha bhikramana shosti pratyavayo na vidyate swalpamasya pidharvasya trayate mahato bahat. Means somebody who takes up to the process. First of all, whatever spiritual activity you do, the result never finishes. You only keep adding on to your spiritual quotient. And then for such a person, trayate mahato bahat. He is relieved from the greatest of fear. From the greatest of fear. Srila Prabhupada, once he was distributing his Back to God magazine in Kolkata where he was living. And one Englishman came to him and he said, "Excuse me, sir." He said, "Yes, I read your article and you have written some very nice things about the world peace and how selfishness can lead to all sorts of problems. I don't believe in God, but I think what you're saying makes sense." And then Prabhupada explains to him that in India, and obviously many parts of the world, not just India also, but this is an Indian setting because I'm talking about Prabhupada. Prabhupada then explains how India is a land of spirituality, culture, where people are so surrendered to the will of the Lord that for nearly 200 years, no problem, a devotee, a surrendered individual doesn't care about his material situation because he knows whatever the circumstances, he is being protected. He can be like a kitten in the cat's mouth and there wouldn't be any problem. And then of course by change of events, British left, and then what happened after British left? We got independence, so-called independence India got in the year 1947. But the problem with all sorts of material solutions is that they always give rise to more problems. Is the example of, is often been given this example here in this session by previous speakers, that once upon a time in England there used to be horses. Everybody was riding on a horseback and then they would create a lot of problems and droppings all over. So they thought, what could be a better solution? So they came up with cars. And then the cars, although they were a solution for some time, became another problem because they started polluting. Now they've come up with electric cars. But we are also realizing that electric cars are also a problem because their batteries are non-biodegradable, and it's going to be a problem when we get to that state. So any material solution is going to come up with more problems. So what happened when we gained so-called independence? For the next 50, 60 years, even till date, there are people fighting with each other. And right at the time of partition, you know how much bloodshed just in the name of partition. This is my land, that's your land. We probably were better if the British were still there. At least thousands and thousands of people would not have lost their lives. So Prabhupada explains that if if any solution is devoid of God consciousness, if there's no Krishna or God, or no element of spirituality, no appreciation for holy name, no surrender to this path of devotion, any solution you come up with are going to create more problems for sure. We chant for a little bit more. Huh?
So we have to go back to horses.
Or bullock carts is better, Mataji. Cow dung can be used. Okay? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Boliye.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare.
So this is a spiritual sound vibration, and we are studying or discussing the importance and the power of the holy name. Even if we are monkey-like, monkey is a representative of a fickle-minded personality. Jumps from one place to the other, thinks of doing this, that, and the other all the time. So the mind is like a monkey, and even if we are monkey-like, we can still take shelter of Lord Ram and simply participate in building the bridge. And what happens then? Simply by surrendering to the process, appreciating the holy name, getting Lord Ram written on every stone, you collect all your impediments, but continue to chant the holy name, you make a bridge and cross over this ocean of material existence. So, no matter what your circumstances, no matter what your situation is, wherever you are, poor, not so poor, rich, not so rich, whatever class you want to put yourself in, ability, not so great ability, the holy name can be chanted anywhere. Is there anybody who disagrees with what we've just discussed so far? So chanting is everybody okay? We will take a couple of questions in about 10 minutes. But this is the simplest process. This is the recommended process for this age. And anybody can take up to it. There's another example from Ramayana again of a dacoit. What's the name? No. The dacoit's name was Ratnakar Daku. So for those of you not familiar, in Lord Ram's pastime, there was a dacoit called Ratnakar, and he used to be a highway robber. Anybody who would cross the highway, he'll rob them. And then once what happened? Saints are like that. Saints are wandering around having mercy on all living beings. So a Saint Narad Muni came to him. Why are you doing this? Oh, this is how I live, and this is my livelihood. This is how I'm feeding my family. So what did Narad Muni ask him?
Can you go and ask these that they will take care?
Exactly. So Narad Muni says, okay, this is how you're maintaining your family, but all the sins that you're encountering, will they partake in that? Will they partake in the sins? He says, why not? They should. He goes home and he has a reality check. He says, no. Whatever ways it means you're using, we've got nothing to do. So,
Very honest.
Very honest family. Yeah. So when you engage in XYZ means, think, people will definitely appreciate all the good deeds you will give them, but all the sins and the karma associated will only be for yours. So what happened to Ratnakar Daku? Narad Muni came and Narad Muni said, blessings, please give up, this is not worth it. And then simply by chanting the holy names, not even the right way around, The wrong way around. What was the wrong way around? Mara, Mara, Mara. Everybody knows, yeah. Mara, Mara, Mara became Ram, Ram, Ram because he was a killer. And Mara means dead. So he couldn't chant Ram. That was his level of, I don't know, not so purity at that stage. But simply by chanting the names wrong way around also, eventually he became Valmiki Muni. And Valmiki Muni, what has he done? Composed the entire Ramayana. Such is the power of chanting of the holy name. Okay, we'll just chant for 2 minutes more. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Shri Ram Sankirtan Yagi ki Jai. So it's said that for a devotee, for a pure devotee, the scriptures are telling us that when he's ready to get back home, even Lord Brahma is waiting to offer arati to such a person. Such is the glorification of a pure devotee. And Srila Prabhupada is one such surrendered soul. I highly recommend it to read his Lilamrita, which is his biography of his life story, how he set up his ISKCON and how he prepared himself to become the foremost devotee of the Lord and set a great example. In the year 1942, when we were in the middle of Second World War, the Japanese were on the opposite side and they were bombing Kolkata, which is where Srila Prabhupada used to live. Why? Because Calcutta was British India's capital. So they were bombing the port and trying to cause all sorts of damage. And what was everyone doing at that time? Everyone was running away in shelters. And then at that time, Prabhupada was with another saint called Sridhar Swami. And Sridhar Swami was saying, Prabhupada, what are you doing? Why are you not packing up and going? And what was Prabhupada's response? Prabhupada said, Rakhe Krishna Mare Kon. Mare Krishna Rakhe Kon. Which means, if the Lord has decided to give you shelter, who in the whole universe can do anything? And if the Lord has decided your time has come, then there is no escape. There is no escape. So Prabhupada, for the surrendered soul he convinced Sridhar Swami, no, let's go to Harinam. If I die, or whenever that happens, if I can remember the Lord's name and stay sheltered and surrendered, that's the success of my life, isn't it? Instead of dying in a bunker somewhere, hidden like a rat, fearing my life. That's not ideal. So Prabhupada convinced everybody around him. And what did they do? When everyone was running away from Kolkata, he went out and did some Harinam. Hare Nam, Hare Nam eva kevalam. Kalo nasti eva nasti gatiranyatha. This is a verse which is mentioned in many, many scriptures, including Sri Chaitanya Chaitamrita. In the Adi and the Madhya Leela, it's mentioned twice, maybe more times, or at least twice is there. And then, while the bombing continued, what did Srila Prabhupada do? He was making kachoris for anybody who stayed back, because he wanted to help. Along with the holy name, he was feeding everyone, prashadam also. So the essence of the whole discussion today is that Shri Shri Bhagavan ki jai, Shri Shri Radha Gopalananda ki jai, Shri Gauranatai ki jai. So the essence of the discussion is that the holy name of the Lord is more potent and more powerful than the Lord himself. We are not really qualified. We don't have the ability or the resource or the wills a lot of times to approach Lord directly. So the Lord is incarnated in the form of his holy name. We should be able to receive that, because it's a very, very simple process. Great acharyas like Bhaktivinoda Thakur, they've composed bhajans. Bhajans are a summary of the entire Vedic knowledge that they have studied and understood and then put together along with their emotions. That's what bhajan is. And he's saying, what is that bhajan? Nadia Gudrum and Nityananda Mahajan. It ends with Jive Daya Krishna Nam Sarva Dharma Sar. Krishna ra samsar karo chhadi anachar. Jive Daya Krishna Nam Sarva Dharma Sar. What is he saying, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur? Krishna ra samsar karo. Recognize the fact that the whole world is the Lord's property, and let others recognize that fact. Krishna ra samsar karo chhadi anachar. Please give up all your nonsensical activities. Chhadi anachar. And then, Jive Daya, that's the first principle, is have mercy on all living beings. All living beings, not just humans. Krishna Nam. Jive Daya, Krishna Nam. Two things. What is that? Jive Daya, Krishna Nam is Sarva Dharma Sar. The entire essence and the summary of all that there is to know from scriptural knowledge is two things. One, kindness to all living beings, and shelter of the holy name. Jivadaya Krishna Nam Sarva Dharma Sar. Okay, with that we will close and get on to more kirtan for the next half an hour, 40 minutes before it's time to have prasadam. Okay, so thank you for being a very wonderful audience and for being patiently sat. Some of you are in yogic poses. Some of you may or may not be comfortable doing that. You've got a nice pose, bro. Practice it every day. Okay, so we can take on a quick couple of questions before I hand over the stage to Sachinandan Prabhu, who's come in his full gear, shining bright like a diamond. He will lead us into Kirtan for about half an hour. Any questions or comments or corrections? Happy to take. Yes, Madhav.
That we are in a very fortunate phase because our current Brahma is a pure devotee, and there is a very good chance that I don't know how much of us, but all the 23 crore demigods and goddesses might go back home to Godhead in this particular place. So it's a very auspicious time. It
is definitely, and Lord Brahma, being the wonderful devotee he is, the Acharya is saying, Nam Brahma Jape Chaturmukhe Krishna Krishna Hare Hare. Even the demigods, the biggest of all living beings in this planetary system, are also chanting the Lord's name. And then, Nam Shiva Jape Panchamukhe Krishna Krishna Hare Hare. And thanks for reminding me. I had it written down. And then also the other references of the devotee. Nam Nara Jape Vinayantre Krishna Krishna Hare Hare. ठीक है, Praneshwar Gopal Prabhu, is that okay? Prabhuji's been nodding his head, so I'm just checking. Everything I said was okay? Thank you. Thank you for the pass certificate. Okay, is anybody else? Yes, what's your name first?
Ben.
Ben.
Yeah, I just wanted to know what is the difference between this temple and a Hindu temple?
Ah.
Because where I'm from, we have only a Hindu temple,
Yeah.
and I didn't really enjoy this temple as much as I do to the one here. And it
Okay.
seems very different,
Mm,
the layout and the setup and things like that.
yeah. So, how do I respond to that question? I don't want to get into any controversy. Is that a loaded question?
I'm just intrigued.
We can say,
Actually, yeah, you want
we
to.
can say, I don't want to be controversial as well. Also, we can say Hindu temple is limited to Hindus,
Okay.
but we are international.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Everybody's welcome.
Everything is done in English.
Yes.
Everybody can understand.
Okay.
Yeah.
Black, white, Indian, Chinese, we are all international.
Okay.
That's why we call ISKCON, International
Yeah.
Society for Krishna Consciousness.
Okay.
We all welcome.